The Popcorn Moment brought to you by Boer Remodeling. Tony Katz, 93 WIBC. Good morning. Well, I should really do it with more fanfare. The Popcorn Moment. Let's go. It's the story you need to hear to believe, and then grab your popcorn because there is more. Okay. You should sit down for this. You should hear this, and then you should tell me what the heck this is. We sent a question. Hey, Diego Morales, he is the Secretary of State. And we said we would like to do an interview. Now, we should be clear. I am very, very focused about Diego Morales for well over a year. Anytime we bring him up, I've been playing this. The Secretary of State, Diego Morales, hired his brother-in-law.
He did what?
Look up idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find?
Picture me?
No. The definition of the word idiot, which you are.
God, Karen, you are so stupid.
What are your qualifications?
Take his qualifications and then shove them somewhere. Who hires their brother-in-law?
That is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard in my life.
It is. It's just absolutely nutty. It smacks of corruption. It smacks of everything we wouldn't want the Republican Party doing. And the idea that when asked about it, who I think it was Ed Delaney who was asking him about it, Democrat from Indianapolis, the answer from Diego Morales was, we hire the best of the best of the best. Which is not an answer. It was never an answer. And his staff has to know that that's not an answer, and that's very embarrassing. I feel the same way about Joe Hogshead's staff as I do about Diego Morales' staff. At some moment, you realize this is not a good place to be, don't you? Don't you? Well, this then, of course, became a subject of this trip to India, this trip here and there, and who's paying for these trips? Are the taxpayers paying for the Secretary of State of Indiana to go visit these countries? And is he having official visits with them? I mean, who is he to have official visits? Is this something that the Secretary of State does? Or is he trying to make himself look like more than he is? And is this being paid for by the taxpayer? That is such a legitimate question that to not answer the question is laughable. To not answer the question for taxpayers of who's paying for this trip is ridiculous. It is embarrassing and it is shameful. It's shameful for Diego Morales, the Secretary of State. It's shameful for his staff that knows that it is such a baseline, basic question, a basic concept. Who paid for the trip? To not answer it, while it certainly does not prove in a court of law guilt, it does in the court of a public opinion prove guilt. Absolutely. If you were to ask people, they would think that Diego Morales is up to shady stuff. Without proof, by the way, because he never answered the question. The question which is so basic and so simple for a Republican or for a Democrat, a conservative or a liberal, a moderate or an independent, for any Hoosier. This is a baseline question. To not answer it, wow. Not only does it make you look in the court of public opinion like a guilty person, like you did something improper, it's a way of explaining to people how much you hate them, how much you disregard them, how above them you think you are. And that is very obvious, I believe, from the actions of Diego Morales. And somehow his staff stays. This brings us to something that took place the other day. Indie Reporter here with the video. This happened, Diego Morales speaking to the Motor Vehicle Advisory Board.
You know, one of the things that we're going to try to do right now is to share with you the hard work that the Morales administration has been doing since I took office. Because the fake news will never share that. The fake WIBC, the fake IndyStar, they will never.
So, first, since when does the Secretary of State refer to it as their administration? The Morales administration? That's very odd. And when he was on these country visits, did he represent himself as the Morales administration? Is there an issue there? I don't know what he did. Heck, we don't know who paid for the trip. But very odd. Again, egomaniacal. Again, look how more important I am than you. Look how special I am. What Diego Morales is trying to do is trying to Trump himself. He's trying to be Trump. And then when talking about IBC, he's trying to engage in Trumpism again. The problem is it doesn't work because Diego Morales is not Donald Trump and he never will be. He doesn't come close. Fake news is when they lie about you. It is not fake news when they ask who paid for the trip. But Diego Morales knows this and his team knows this, except his team doesn't want to admit to it. Which brings us to Lindsey Eaton, the comms director for the Indiana Secretary of State, whom we emailed. And we said, hey, we would like to interview Secretary of State Diego Morales regarding his statement about WIBC. And we sent the link that of the video I just shared with you. Please let me know how we can coordinate. It came from producer Carl. The response was, hi, Carl. This is from Lindsey Eaton, the comms director. Hi, Carl. We respectfully decline your interview request on this topic. Your station and those who work there have previously chosen to platform unfounded and frankly ridiculous allegations about Secretary Morales and actual or imagined associates. Now, this has to do with tickets to a basketball game, and Morales was there, and the Lieutenant Governor Michael Beck was there, and where did those tickets come from, and this guy and his history and his issues. I haven't done that story. Rob and Ken and Casey have done that story. I have not done that story. So because of that, they're declining an interview. Although they call the allegations unfounded and ridiculous, but they don't state why. Lindsey Eaton does not state why in the email. She then responds, continues with, quote, with the redaction and apology given after spreading false and inaccurate information on your station about one of those associates, given the manner of that coverage, we will not participate in interviews with your outlet at this time. Now, I think she meant without a redaction and an apology. However, she has not indicated what requires redaction nor what requires apology. We don't know what she is saying requires redaction and apology. What I can tell you is that she is talking about a show and not the station. That seems obvious at this point. It's obvious she's talking about Kendall and Casey. She's not talking about me, and she's not talking about the WIBC newsroom. She continues, by common definition, fake news is the presentation of false, uninformed, incomplete, or selective information as complete objective news reporting or journalism. In our opinion, time and time again, your outlet's news reporting consists of unsubstantiated secondhand information unbolstered by reasonable due diligence, writes Lindsey Eaton, Communications Director for Secretary of State Morales. She continues, quote, listeners are likely to be misled by negligent, obtained, uninformed, or even malinformed information and subjective opinion presented as complete and factual news. We do not intend to enable or collaborate in such practices. Now, a couple things here. First, I'm pretty sure the second half of that email was written by AI. That's my take. Doesn't seem to be a way people talk. Secondly, I would remind Lindsey Eaton, who once worked at Fox 59, that the news department of WIBC is different than the commentary done on WIBC, and she is engaging right now in a disparagement of the newsroom, which I think that defamation is pretty awful. I don't know if it reaches the point of actionable against the state of Indiana, but I'm not a lawyer. The newsroom has not engaged at all in anything like this. And I have said many times that what I do here is indeed commentary, not journalism. That is done by the newsroom. It is a different function. But you know that, Lindsey. You know it. And I know, we all know it. You also have not provided what is indeed false. You have not shared that. You have made an allegation with no backup. None. Can I ask what credibility you think you have in this conversation? Lindsay, I got to get to commercial here, but allow me. We asked a legitimate question. Diego Morales engaged in what is clearly false. And me asking the question is not the problem. Your response is. And if the Secretary of State's office wants to start a fight with me, they can. But look at yourselves. What are you doing? Matt Bear.